Sound check. Sound check. Thank you, Audrey and Leslie. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. Some of my technology needs to wake up. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Got a pretty good group? Yeah? Good to see everybody. I see we got some international folks in here. Johanna Wigg from New Zealand. Alistair is here from Scotland. And I think we might have somebody from Norfolk, England tonight. Simon might come through. All right, so that's England and New Zealand in the house, Scotland. And we might get a few Georgia girls, Tammy and Cindy. All right, so be on the lookout for these folks. Beautiful job, Audrey Cakes. Thank you so much. for being an awesome moderator. Kudos to Audrey Cates for promoting the channel so aggressively. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello, hello. Hello, Cindy Abbott. Hello, Crystal Wilson. Deb Tudorow, all right. Iggy, Busted Flush. Tina Velez, Alabama, all right. Alabama in the house. Well then, Vote Mayhem from Australia. Welcome, welcome. We got Aussie in the house. Voted Mayhem. All right. It's gonna be a good one. We got everybody all around the globe ready to go. And I hope everybody's doing well tonight. Blue Aqua, all right. Good to see you, Blue Aqua. We have new members. Let's see. I need to mention a few people. And then I usually give one great big thanks for everybody in the community page. Try not to leave anybody out. If I miss somebody, just let me know. I want to give a shout out to AKA Lauren. Became a Ricky Smart Cookie a day ago. All right, Shelly, Stella Marino BB became a member 5 days ago, and Dana became a member 6 days ago. So a welcome and a great big thank you, and we're looking to fellowship with you, AKA Lauren, Stella Marino BB, and Dana. Also, I want to give a shout out to all of the members who rejoined. That will be the people with the yellow channel logo, the yellow KJV logo. That means they're in their second month of membership, which is absolutely fabulous. I thank you. I appreciate everyone. All right, and let's see. A special shout out to Star Sorcerer and Katerina Rado, our selective detectives, okay, which is our highest level of membership. All right, so a special shout out to these high rollers here. Thank you to everyone that's a member. I believe we're at about 58 or 60. Thank you so much. God bless to each and every one of you. Thank you for your support of the channel. You are appreciated. All right, and so let's get into it. We have a few things we need to cover. Okay, if you're new to the live, we will guide you along with how we do things. We got Texas in the house. Iggy, all right. Where are you, in Houston? What part of Texas? What part of Alabama? All right. Yeah. K-Dub in the house. All right. Shout out to K-Dub, Blue Aqua, Deb Tudorow, Leslie, that's me. All right. I see you, Leslie. We give you the first shout out. Shout out to Leslie, that's me. She's going to start us out with the hearts. Good to see everyone. You're looking good, looking good. All right, we have an excellent crowd tonight, and boy, is it going to be worth it. We've got so much good information so many things to talk about that have happened in the past 2 weeks as far as document filing, alibis. I mean, what hasn't happened? I mean, we got a lot to talk about. Yeah, K Dub, that's my serious look. That's like y'all better not be messing around tonight. All right, we're not gonna be talking about our rabbit hole issues. Now, don't get me wrong, I do go down the rabbit hole right along with y'all in some of these crazy theories, but I only follow down there so far. Then I come on out and come back to my channel because I know if I don't check, I'll be in Alice in Wonderland in a few. So we can't do it like that. We can't do it like that. Yeah, that's my serious look, K Dub. Shout out to K Dub. Yeah, that's my why aren't y'all in Sunday school look? All right, now everybody voted. That's right. That's right. Let me write that down. We can talk about the survey. Matter of fact, we can start off with that and get it out of the way. I'm going to put a screenshot up of your vote. This is what you said. All right. We are up to 453 votes. That's a lot of people. That's enough people to really pinpoint how the people feel. Right? I mean, 453 people, this is pretty much how you feel. I'm just saying. So let's get this one out of the way. Now, this is the survey we took this week, this previous week. If you haven't taken the survey, you probably still can, as far as I know. But here were the choices and the results. After 453 votes, exactly half of the sample, which is you, believed that Kohberger was driving around alone. Now, let me ask you, are you all saying this because you're sympathizing with Kohberger, because you take late night rides and you think this is perfectly normal, especially a person that seems to have OCD, ADHD, FCK, or 10HD, something? He's got some kind of disorder that's probably functional, but some people say he's spectrum or whatever, but I definitely pick up some kind of something. I'm not going to try to define it right away. We're going to go ahead and just, okay, Elwing in the house. Shout out to Elwing. All right, everything's going to be all right now, y'all. Elwing is here. Elwing and Alistair are here, so we're straight. Now, the 50% said, we believe he's driving around alone. And I personally think it takes courage to tell the public that I was out driving, even though people are saying they saw my car. I'm still going to go ahead and say this is what I was doing. All right, so kudos to Brian to what seems to be like transparency. I hope that's what it is. God knows I do. The second choice was Kohberger was partaking drugs. And this was the worst. This got the lowest vote. I was surprised by that. Everybody's hollering, the motive is drugs. It was a drug house. It was a trap house. Maddie flushed the drugs. They were selling, the ATF and the FBI were staked out in Moscow. Emma Bailey and Demetrius sold drugs. Somebody OD'd, and they covered it up with the stabbing. I've heard so many drug stories about this case. And then to turn around and only 9% believe that Kohberger was somewhere in that neighborhood parked taking drugs. Only 9%. I don't understand why that's so unbelievable, because he was driving around. He does have drug use in his history. I don't care what people say. Once a person has been addicted to drugs, there is a large chance that they will take drugs again. It's not guaranteed or written in stone that they will. It's a personal choice. Like a lot of people say, I used a certain drug to get through college, and then I kicked the drug. I was functional, you know. It's a lot of functional drug users. Every crackhead is not on a bicycle with no shoes on, riding through the hood. You got crackheads in public office. All right? Anybody in Canada in here with me? Anybody in the UK know of a crackhead politician? I know Canada had a mayor that wouldn't stop smoking it. I know Hunter Biden he likes recreational drugs. As far as I can see, he's making videos online of his recreation. So drugs is not limited to just poor people in the hood that don't have a car. That's not it. It's drug use all across the board, all the way starting from the bottom of the food chain to the top. And it's not uncommon for somebody under pressure that has a demanding schedule, like with school and work and family and taking care of a mother, a father, elderly, you know, or they have a church, or they have some type of responsibilities in addition to a full-time job. You'll be surprised how many people turn to alcohol or drugs to cope with their schedule, because the Bible says to whom much is given, much is required. Okay, the more you have, the more you're going to have on your plate that you need to do to give back to society. And that can become very demanding. You don't just get a full ride scholarship, nice cozy apartment, or blah, blah, blah. But, you know, you don't get all that from society, and you don't owe anything back. Right? I'm just saying these are just some thoughts that I have. You know, a person can turn drugs on and off depending on their lifestyle. If it's not demanding at the moment, they might abstain. Or they may never taken drugs in their life and do it for the first time as an adult because of depression. Then you got some people that took drugs when they were younger, getting out of high school and going to college, but then as an adult now, they don't do drugs at all. That was just something for back then. So I think if Tina Velez, Brian never said he did drugs. Only people who want the 15 minutes of fame, so they gossip for attention. Okay, Tina, shout out to Tina Velez. I have seen pictures of Brian where he looks like an addict. And I get a lot of flack for saying this. But I'm just saying, I know what a heroin addict looks like. It's heroin addicts right around here in living color. I'm not talking about pictures out of a coloring book or a magazine. I'm talking about a full-fledged heroin addict that I can look in the face tomorrow and tell you how a heroin addict looks. Around his eyes, his complexion. I can tell you. Nodding off, can't stay awake. Having to take them down there to the emergency room because you can't wake them up. I mean, heroin users are not some big mysterious population. You know, and it's not some drug that's limited to a certain income bracket or socioeconomic genre or demographic, however you would say it. That's not what it is. So I was surprised at this 9%, but people are just saying how they feel. They don't believe he was somewhere apart doing drugs. So evidently, if he was over there, they feel he was in the business. He was a part of the crime. If he was over there, they don't believe he was just somewhere la-di-da, tiptoeing through the tulips, and some stuff was going on while he was there that made him be in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's not what it was. That's what people are saying that voted that 9%, that voted other than the 9%. They don't believe he was just sitting somewhere doing recreational drugs. I think that's very possible. I'm not saying it is what happened. I'm saying it is possible. Because if somebody had a heroin addict addiction or cocaine or whatever before, they're susceptible to using it again. Or, newsflash, they never stopped. They were just in remission. They just put it to the side for certain periods of time when it just wouldn't have fit their lifestyle for them to be functional with it. So they put it up on the shelf, and some people just been using it from the first time they did it. They never stopped. Okay, I'm saying the photo is the proof for me, Tina. I'm going to find it for you, and I'm going to let you know why I believe Brian Kohberger, besides um, being charged with stealing his sister's phone and reports from his family that he was on it, I'm gonna show you exactly why I believe Brian Kohberger was on some type of drug and possibly still is to some extent, because that's what I believe. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that's my opinion. In my opinion, the color of his skin, the weight loss. I'm going to show you. Just give me a minute to load it up. It's going to take me a minute to find the second picture. I might have to go in my stash. People are saying, oh, you shouldn't say that. You can't say whether or not looking at a picture. Well, where I come from, you can. I'm talking about somebody that's been using, not recreationally, but long enough to say that it's an addiction and they have a problem. They're having problems managing it. Okay, I'm going to have to go in my stash to get the green picture. I can't even remember what video it was. Let me just keep looking. Okay, I found it. This is why I'm saying if it wasn't heroin, it was cocaine or something to that effect. Now let me load the screen and show you the difference. Here's one picture. You can see he's in a green shirt with a tie, and he looks like he's at least maybe 22 or 23 years old. And here's this same guy, pretty much the same age or close to it. And this picture on the right, I believe he was in recovery or he was using, one or the other. Either he was using or he had just started recovery. His eyebrows are the biggest thing on his face. And people who say this could have been weight loss, it was weight loss from drug use. Because when he lost weight, he was using heroin. His friends testified to that. They said when he was in high school, he started using heroin to fit in. And then the heroin started changing what he ate and his weight. His friends went on camera saying this. So it's no reason to fight about whether this man was on drugs. If you believe he was never on drugs, that's fine. It's a free country in this channel to believe what you want to. I'm just saying, based on these photos and what I've looked at from his past, this man was a drug user. And this is years after high school. This wasn't right when he graduated. This was both of these pictures. He was at least probably 23, 24 years old on these pictures, if not older. So I'm going to have to say that he was using a controlled substance, and he was using it too much. And I'm not going to say that it was heroin at this point. He could have toned it down to cocaine and methadone. Maybe, maybe not. But definitely, if I had to bet the farm whether or not he was using drugs, maybe the last couple years of high school, Elwing High School can be rough. Yes, all of public school can be rough. Kids can be very nasty and abusive. And the schoolwork, the challenge, the competitiveness, all of that is very pressurized for the person. So let's just go and let me see. I was giving a shout out to somebody. I'm gonna just start from right here. Okay, but I'm just saying, I just like to keep it real, and we need to know whether this guy used drugs, because that's a motive for the crime. If people are saying the house was a drug house and Brian Kohberger had a drug problem, or he was mellowing it out with some type of something on the side to cut it down like methadone, he could have been coming to Moscow to get it instead of doing it right around his doorstep in Pullman. It matters whether he took drugs in his past. It matters. All right? Wakinya Tonka. Wow. Wakinian, let us know where you're from. Shout out to Wakinian Tonka, and let us know where you are from, please. What a beautiful name. What an absolutely gorgeous name. Shout out to you for being with us. And let me send you all some love. Okay, so now let's move on from that. I'm going to change my screen because I want to get into this document and this DNA. Because we got some new documents out. And I suppose we could spend a few more minutes on the survey. Let me move this out of the way. Because this just common sense. Anybody that's been around somebody that was a drug user, the first thing that changes is their behavior. The second thing that changes is their appearance. And it's not something you can hide. All right, we got Alaska in the house. Alabama, Alaska. Where's Arkansas? All right, listen. The third thing on the survey was Kohberger was at 1122 King Road committing the crime. And a total of 18% said they believe he was at 1122 King Road committing the crime. 18%. You know, that's going on a quarter of everybody. What do you say about that? They're saying he's guilty. He was at the house committing the crime. 18%. Louisiana. We got Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana. We got all the dirty South. We got Texas. We got all the dirty South. Where's Florida? All right, Tina Velez, my brother-in-law is an addict, so I do know what to look for. I am not saying you don't know what to look for, Tina. Let me give you a shout out. I am definitely not saying that, because I know the majority of people here have had addicts in their family, or probably still do. And I'm certainly not saying that you cannot decipher, what you're dealing with in people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, in my opinion, based on those pictures and what I read about his history with drugs and what his friends have said that went to school with him, have said on camera publicly, that's how I draw my conclusion. Of course, it's not written in stone. It's not written in stone. It's my opinion. All right, well, Kenya, we're waiting on you to let us know where you're at. Shout out to Kay Hawkins. My son is on the autism spectrum of ADD. The ADD medication is a potent drug, much like heroin, and there's one more potent than Adderall, and my son taking it ended up with schizophrenia. Oh, wow. Who is this? Kay. Shout out to Kay. Thank you for sharing. Because I also want to point out that there's a difference in the times in his life, He's about the same age on these pictures, or maybe about a year or two in between, but he was definitely going through something on the one on the right. Now, last but not least, about a quarter, 23 to 25% said, I don't know where he was, but he was in big trouble. In other words, if he wasn't riding around, he can't prove where he was, he's in big trouble. A lot of people who couldn't decide chose that option. All right? So let's see. The shopping response could have been drugs, not necessarily basic necessities. My vote in him driving around is because I think Brian is being honest, and to me, he doesn't fit Ellie's narrative. 2 out of 2, and that's just for the tea. Shout out to Just for the Tea, and I agree with that. He could have been out there taking a drive, long drive to rest his nerves. He could have also been going to pick up a little package, and all that could have been the same reason. Could have been to sit and, get a few hits with somebody, or go on back home with his package, or drive around Idaho with his little package, with his little dime bag, or whatever he bought. He could have done it all. He could have, I'm just saying, a lot of people believe his narrative, and I think it takes a lot of courage for somebody charged with a quadruple murder to come out and tell the truth and say, hey, I was in my car driving around, or whatever. Or, because, people are looking out for this man's car. Now, whether he was doing drugs, or just driving around, or shopping at Winco, or whatever, just because they haven't told us doesn't mean Ann Taylor doesn't know exactly where Brian was driving. Just because they haven't told us doesn't mean she doesn't know. All right, give me 1 minute. I need to get up and grab something. Okay, like I was saying, he seems like he's telling the truth to me. But at the same time, I do not rule out that Brian Kohberger was out buying him a sack of something, some type of narcotic. I haven't ruled that out, because once the addict, he could have been. I'm not ruling out that he didn't buy him a dime or bag or whatever while he was out. I'm not eliminating that from my list right now. I'm not gonna do it. Y'all have to really run me out for me to go that route. Now, let's look at some of the comments in the chat. All right. Shout out to Deb to the road. Side effects. Yes, I asked too about toxicology reports on them, and there's nothing they'll do for people who get affected like that. Big Pharma don't care. Sorry about your kiddo. They sure don't. Shout out to Leslie. That's me. That's right. That's right. Now let's see. Plenty of people are functioning addicts. They are. Shout out to Tony Grant. There's so many people that's functioning addicts or alcoholics. It's not funny. Sending you tons of love, Kay Hawkins. Aw. Let me send some love. Can y'all see that? Lucas Boyd in the house. Shout out to Lucas. All right, guys. Y'all need to speak up. Don't let the girls outshine you tonight. Okay? All right. Okay, Joaquin is in Alaska. Good, good, good. Thank you. I'll make a mental note. We got Alaska, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana. It must be American night. We're gonna have American night tonight. All right, let's see. East Kentucky. Yeah, it's good on USA tonight. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. Y'all remember that song? Not to mention his neighbors have established he was known to be up in the wee hours of the morning vacuuming, etc. He does appear to have been on drugs based on these pics, in my opinion. Thank you. See, just for the tea, I always have my back. I always have my back. I'm just saying. I'm just looking at these pictures. Just everything aside, just from personal experience, the vibe I get is that this dude did have a drug problem, and he did a magnificent job of kicking the drug problem. So why would he kick a drug habit and go to school at WSU to throw all that away by killing somebody? Because Brian knows there's no perfect crime. He got sense enough to know that. And he knows if he plans a quadruple murder, he's going to jail. Ain't no perfect crime. Why would somebody go to WSU, about to get a PhD, a TA, already, in the ruling class, breeding ground, pretty much, the way he was set up. And you mean to tell me this guy sat somewhere fantasized about going and killing 4 people and just went over there and did it out of the blue like some ninja? This guy right here that was walking on eggshells most of his life as far as getting himself together, he started out with instability, overweight and stuff in high school. So psychologically, his psychosocial balance was off from day one. So it's been an uphill battle for him to get to WSU and live on his own in his own apartment and, drive around as an independent adult citizen. That took work. If you look at how he grew up, think about my sons and how they mature at different rates. People mature at different rates and stuff like that and develop, especially if they have, learning and behavioral problems from birth because somebody, maybe they were born with some of that stuff in their system. All right? Dana Renee, I think he was doing drugs at the same time. Shout out to Dana. It's possible. I'm giving Brian props and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because of how he did such a fine job of getting himself together to make it to WSU. He was looking healthy and stuff. I mean, I'm just saying. That was an excellent comeback he made from high school to this fall semester pass. He did a great job. And so we can't just stick this man in jail and call him a mass murderer without proof. Whether he was doing drugs or not, that doesn't make him a killer. Unless he got hold of something that was a little bit more than whatever. But that doesn't work either because these murders were planned. The Idaho 4 murders were planned. Nobody just popped up in there. Because remember, school was out November the 11th. For Veterans Day. They could have done it Friday night. Why not Friday night? Why not Friday night? Why not Friday night? I'm waiting on you. Not all addicts kill 4 people and some addicts do repent. Get saved and clean up. Amen. That's right, Lucas. And some of them, even if they don't clean up and repent, they don't go out killing people. Majority of them, I think, are functional. You got something strung out in the street, but everybody, just because somebody on drugs doesn't mean they wouldn't kill anybody. And then if somebody did something on drugs, it would be sloppy. It would be sloppy, and there would be no reason for Dylan and Bethany to cover for Brian Kohberger. If he's the one that did it, Bethany and Dylan could have went on and called the police. If Brian Kohberger killed the Idaho 4, Bethany and Dylan could have went on and called the police. They don't know him. They saw somebody walking out, somebody did, you call the police. There was no reason to cover for Brian Kohberger. They didn't know him. The fact that they didn't call the police right away, that let me know right there that they know something about who did it. If there's no connection between them and Brian was in the house wreaking havoc, there was nothing to stop Bethany and Dylan from calling the police. If BK visited Eden Harsh occasionally to score drugs, that explains his dozen visits in that hood. Shout out to Terry Butler. I'm going to give you a brain for that. You know, he had plenty of things he could have been doing in Moscow. Shopping at Winco is just one of them. And that little neighborhood right there, that's not the only dope trap house over there. The people around the corner had a noise complaint after the murders for doing the same thing. Shout out to Pablo Hormone. All right, Pablo, welcome. Good to see you. Let's send y'all some love. We still got people coming in. Wow. Now, what I'm saying is, Terry Butler, that was Terry's comment. If BK visited Eden Harsh, that's possible too. While he's sitting up there playing with that cat, talking about what he doesn't know, he was at the grub truck, probably selling, Eden probably was selling dope at the grub truck. He was just standing around smiling. And what he had on, he had a place to put it. In that big, what do you call it, hoodie, poncho or whatever. He was probably selling in. When he got off from work from the restaurant, he was out selling in. When he was at the grub truck, he wasn't there for food. He works at a restaurant. He didn't need food from the grub truck. Eden Harsh left his job and food, went to the grub truck, and I believe he was dealing right there at the truck. Because again, he has a history of mollies, fentanyl, cocaine, marijuana. It's all on his record. And so he's conveniently located right down the street from a big party house. None of that is coincidence. And then he was right out there with him after the game. After the club and after everything said and done, he was right there at the truck. You can't tell me he was there for food. All right, let's see what else we got here. Denver, Colorado. Man, it's America night tonight. We got New Zealand, Scotland, and who else? England in the house, Australia. But we got some Patriots in the house too. All right. Let's see. Not to mention his neighbors have established he was known to be up. Right. Just here for the tea. Shout out to Just Here for the tea. Remember, the lady said he couldn't sit still. He was up doing stuff in the wee hours of the morning. And that fits the profile, the vibe that I got from him from these body cams. That's why a lot of people are saying he's on the spectrum. That's the vibe I get from him, that he had some type of anxiety or something to where he couldn't just sit down somewhere and chill. I get that vibe from him. Even on the body cam in Washington, When the lady kept telling him he wasn't going to get a ticket, blah, 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 go ahead on about your business, he wouldn't even let it go. He was still trying to talk about it. That's how you know he's got a little piece of a disorder somewhere. He couldn't even stop talking about it. All right, I think, let's see. I think the defense will be able to establish a long-term pattern about his driving habits. Right, well, Kenyon, there will. Not only a pattern of his driving habits, the fact that he can't drive worth too much of nothing. That's why he keeps getting pulled over. And he's busy, you know. I agree with that. Shout out to Kenyon in Alaska. All right. Okay. Blah. Shout out to Blah. You tried to sneak in here. Okay, let's see who else had something to say. Cindy Abbott, tent door. I thought I saw Cindy. Let's see. Alice there. What we know now is obvious. It was cops and the students. I'm telling you, that's what went down. Are they trafficked? No sign of bodies being taken out. This is going to Kenya. Shout out to Alice there. Okay, we did talk about organ harvesting, you know, in our meeting on yesterday. Because, I mean, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Something is wrong with this whole case. Something is wrong. And I'm not talking about the violence. We know it was wrong what they did to those kids. But something is wrong with this. Very wrong. Okay, let me move this out of the way so I can load my screen. I'll put that up there. Now, let's see if I can get my browser to cooperate, because I want to talk about the documents that came out today. No blood anywhere in car, office, apartment, no dog hair. Shout out to Cindy for bringing up this point that we've been talking and harping on for months. Because when they were saying this or that, I told you they weren't going to find anything in this stuff. I told you. Shout out to Cindy for bringing that up, because somebody was saying they did find dog hair. Those reports came back. They said possible dog hair. They never confirmed it was dog hair. They couldn't say it was dog hair because it wasn't. If it was dog hair, they could tell that was not only that it was dog hair, but also that which breed it probably was. Huh? What about that? All right, Deb Tudor wrote a Banfield is suspicious to me. Shout out to Deb. It's suspicious to me too, because you got 4 people running with a white box at 312. That alone is a problem for me. Right there in front of the house. That's, to me, these kids know what's going on. Somebody's trying to cover their you know what. People are trying to get their fingerprints wiped out of that house and stuff. People are filming. God only knows what all went down. But those students were up to a lot after the crime. And I just don't understand how we're supposed to believe that this one guy went in there and did all that, and they can't even find anything in his car or his apartment. And then the people are still saying he cleaned it and he was doing this or that with gloves on in Pennsylvania. I haven't seen any footage of that. I want to see him with gloves on separating trash in his underwear. Okay, if y'all saw that, where's the footage? I believe it when I see it. Yes, Star, I agree. I came across a comment where this person was saying she was on a live and a lady was on there saying she was at a party nearby and heard screams like a bear attack, but one too. I don't understand the last part of that. Just here for the tea. All right, but I give you credit for the info. Shout out to Just for the tea. What do you mean about but 1/2? All right, Terry Butler, restaurant cook wouldn't eat at the food truck. Very true. Shout out to Terry. You know, this guy is all but doing fine dining. And he's going to leave there where he can probably get food for free and go to the grub truck and order food. And at that time of morning, he had been off. He said he got off at 11 or 12. He didn't have to be there that late. He didn't go home. He lied and said he went home. Maybe Emma was hanging out in the parking lot again. Who is that, Blah? Shout out to Blah. Yeah, it's possible, but for what I know, Emma and Demetrius got busted in Washington, in Seattle, right? Didn't they get busted in Seattle? You know how far away that is from Moscow? You know how far Seattle, Washington is from Moscow? Somebody, I know y'all Emma and Demetrius experts. Don't try to act like you don't have the scoop on Emma and Demetrius. You know you got the scoop. You know you got the scoop from other channels. I know where all the other security cameras are from the businesses across the street and around the grub truck. Shout out to Tony. Well, I know for a fact there's a camera at A&W restaurant that would have caught all of it. But we haven't gotten any footage. A&W restaurant is in the middle of all the action. Brian would have had to pass by it if he was on Steiner Avenue. He would have had to pass by it to leave out of Moscow and go past Blaine. He would have had to pass by the A&W root beer restaurant. He would have had to pass by it or cut through the neighborhood in a way that doesn't match what they said in the PCA. Right? Right? I love America. Shout out to Deb. I do too. Let me try to find a flag. Yeah. It's United States. We shout out over here, but we love everybody. Don't believe Americans don't love people from other countries or we look down on you. That's not true. Americans love everybody. Especially if you got a beer or you got, a bus pass or something cool like that, you'll fit right in. It doesn't matter. Americans love football, beer, guns, I have to say, hunting, guns, beer, football, and Twitter. All right, so tell it to L. Shout out to Tell It to L. Yeah, we love everybody. Whatever country you're in, we love you. We don't have a reason not to. I mean, we're all human beings. And we wish you well. We're having a good time. We have a good time over here in the States. We make sure we have a good time. All right, so let's see. Just in for the tea, thought it was just domestic. She also said at 8 a.m. that morning she saw about 5 people calmly smoking on the balcony, but she was scared to come forward. 2 of 2. I got you. All right, now I see what you're saying. And now that you say that, I have read reports of this same time of morning. And them saying that the front door was left open until 8:30. Has anybody else heard that? Shout out to Just for the Tea again. Yes, I've heard that it was a lot going on in there around 8, between 7 and 8. And they said the door was open till at least 8:30 in the morning, the front door. Huh? Tell it to L. I'm up, off, and on, and I have PTSD, and my neighbors might think I'm weird, but I hope not. LOL, I just can't sleep well many nights. All right, we love you. Tell it to L. If you can't sleep, we'll just have to open up the live, okay? Asperger's makes socially Asperger's. That's what I was trying to think of. Shout out to Elwing. That's what I was trying to come up with when I was saying psychosocial. That's what I was trying to think of. Asperger's. You know, it's a lot of these little if you look on the spectrum on the psychological, the list of disorders. I mean, so many of them you can still function just because you have it. It doesn't mean you're handicapped. You can't take care of yourself, right? It's just something that's a part of your life. That doesn't make you dysfunctional, but Asperger's. That's what I was trying to think of. All right. Let me go back to my DLT was shown to be a fraud. What's up, Denny? Shout out to Denny. Okay, Denny, what are you talking about? DLT was shown to be a fraud. Could you explain that, Denny? Here's your shout out. Let me send you some love. Oh, we got a super chat sticker. Miami 22. Oh, Dade County. Dade County in the house. What's going on? What's going on? Thank you so much, Miami 22. Let me give you let me see. Let me give you a shout out. Find some hearts. Thank you so much. All right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Where are we? Where are we in the comments? Oh, there's a white car that looks like the one in Linda Lane footage that goes by the dumpster, parked at the apartments right there, and Frat Boy lives there too. Okay, what Frat Boy? Tell it to L. All right. Y'all show some love for Miami 22. All right, 25. How? Okay. Men's first. When Scott Clear leaves the grub truck, he walks toward a white sedan. What Kenyan? Football beer. Hey, it's the truth. You know it don't take much for Americans to be happy to throw you a big smile. Though Jazz left the country, yep, Jack Showalter. Blah. 27-mile radius. How the hell do they have the nerve to say they know where Brian was at? Yeah, that is a big radius. But one thing I did notice, I'm glad you brought that up. Let me change my screen. All right, you should be able to see that in about a few seconds. Because they told us something that maybe wasn't true about these pings. And I'm going to see if somebody else caught that. Okay. Can you... Let me log on this phone so I can see what you see. All right. Live. Ooh. Now, yeah, you can see it. Okay, I'm glad you said that because if you look on this, if you look on here to this map, the Paradise Creek cell tower does not cover Steptoe Apartments. So I just don't see, if Brian was at home, wouldn't his cell phone ping off the Northeast Merman Drive cell tower in Pullman? Because the cell tower, the Paradise Creek cell tower, that doesn't reach the Steptoe. It doesn't even reach really all the way into Pullman. But they're saying that, I was thinking maybe he could have been home at his apartment and still pick up the same tower as King Road. But looking at this, that's not true. He wouldn't have picked up the King Road thing there. He wouldn't have done it. Okay, we got another sticker. Miami 22, this pizza is swinging. What in the world? All right. Miami 22 is hot tonight. Let me see. Let me find a heart here. Thank you so much. Let me see. Need to turn on a little more light, I think. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Tell it to L. I'm trying to hear what you have to say about. Oh, Robin made it in. Oh, shout out to Robin Latham, one of my favorite people. All right. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Miami 22, for the stickers. Thank you. All right. We got Robin in here now. Who else we missing? Stephanie. Stephanie Elizar. All right. Tell it to L. If the network was shut down that morning for University of Idaho, isn't that Wi-Fi? So is that why Kaylee, Maddie, and Brian's phones all stopped at 252 or close to it? I think Brian might be working above Moscow PD. Okay, let's tell it to L. What do y'all think about that? The Wi-Fi and this phone ping thing. We haven't even gotten to the subject, the DNA. We need to talk about that. I found something. Okay, here's your shout out. Tell it to L. And I'm gonna change my screen again because we need to move on. We'll come back to the pings afterwards. We'll come back to the pings. I wanna show you something. Hold on, let me get it up here. Now this is the document that Leah Larkin filed. I'll try to make it a little bigger. All right, that's 90%. Now this is the affidavit Leah Larkin filed. And it's very, very well put together. Okay, she says she's been the expert on this case since July 27, 2023. That was just 2 weeks ago. Be honest. That was just 2 weeks ago that she became the expert. Right? Okay, let me get all this out of the way so you can see. Now, I had somebody say I look mean on this picture. I look mean? I'm mean mugging. Am I mean mugging on this picture? All right. Let me get my paper because put a pen in that and have a look at this. Okay, this footnote is from page, hold on. This footnote is from page 3 of the affidavit. And if anybody needs a link, just let me know. If you want to read the document for yourself, Okay, so Miss Larkin came on board on July 27th. That was only 2 weeks ago. But boy, did they get a gem out of her. And it says here, this is the note. This is footnote number 4. Footnote number 4 says, hold on. Footnote number 4 says, Ancestry DNA's terms state, talking about Ancestry DNA website. You also agree not to use information obtained from the DNA services, including any downloaded DNA data. This is underlined. This is in the footnotes. This is how efficient this lady is. This is in the footnotes. Defined in the privacy statement, in whole, in part, and or in combination with any other database. Did you hear that? And or in combination with any other database for any medical, diagnostic, or paternity testing purpose in any judicial proceeding or for any discriminatory purpose or illegal activity. Are you seeing this in black and white? The same thing I'm seeing? You're not even allowed to use that. If what they're saying is, we don't want you using this for professional use. This is for somebody to casually come and find out about their genetic history. It's not for you to turn it into some evidence. That's what that says. It's in black and white. This is footnote number 4 on this document. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm telling you. No, you look intelligent and discerning. Aw, thank you, Elwing. I got to give you a shout out for that. Thank you so much. I'm trying to look discerning. Yeah, that sounds real fancy. Huh? That sounds real fancy. Okay, look. Shout out to Misty Blue. Shout out to Misty Blue. I see you. Find your blue heart. All right. Misty, another one from Scotland. You hear that, Alistair? You got a neighbor in here. Oh, we got two Scots. Misty Blue and Alistair. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. NASDAQ, baby. Good to see you. Shout out to NASDAQ, baby. Love the name. The problem is they arrested him on DNA. True. Let me give you a brain for that. You just earned a brain because guess what? That is the problem. that same sheath and DNA that they claim is the smoking gun for the case is what's gonna make Brian Kohberger walk. Watch. Oh, AF in the house. AF is a high heart truth. Hi AF, thank you so much. AF for the super sticker for 20. Thank you so much. Let me send you some love right back. Thank you to AF and Miami 22. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. This is great. I appreciate you all so much. We all do, because we plan to get online and talk about this crime for as long as we want to. So we're gonna keep the train on the tracks one way or the other. Now, who had the brain? NASDAQ baby. All right, AF and Miami 22 leading us off. Leading us down. Holding us down, holding us down. What? We have a good time here and learn a lot. That's right, Robin. We almost had to come get you, Robin. We're not putting up with you taking a nap every time we have a live. Okay? You're out of warnings, Robin. You don't even have any warnings left. All right, Tina Velez, NASDAQ baby, exactly. I think she should have dropped the charges because that was the evidence to arrest him. It's obscene. It was. Without the DNA, they wouldn't have been able to get that arrest. I don't believe it. I believe without the DNA, they would not be able to get Brian Kohberger arrested. They might have been able to bring him in for questioning, but they wouldn't have been able to get an arrest warrant for him without the DNA. And I believe that same DNA is what's going to have the prosecution stuck in a ditch. Huh? It's stuck in a ditch. Because they're going to want to try to get rid of that and Dylan's statement, and it's too late. Because that's the first thing you put out. Is that foolishness from saying did somebody pass by Dylan. That's right. Yeah, it's already going to be thrown out. They knew it from the beginning. Yeah, they got a mountain of evidence to prove that there was some corruption involved. They got a mountain of evidence to prove that. But let's see. Let's go back to what I was saying about this. Well, a DNA. All right. I'm going to read this one more time. I want y'all to kind of listen to what this means. I'm on the footnote number 4 on page 3 of the affidavit of Leah Larkin. And let me see if I have it pulled up. I'll give you a link to the document. Let me put that in the chat. I'll put it in the chat. Okay, here's a link to the document that I'm drawing from right now, a really quick, easy PDF link. So if you want to go along and look, you can. Now, note number 4 is from, this is the terms of use she's quoting from Ancestry DNA's terms of use for using their software. It states, you also agree not to use the information obtained from the DNA services, including any downloaded DNA data, defined in the privacy statement in whole, in part, and or in combination with any other database for any medical, diagnostic, or paternity testing purpose in any judicial proceeding, or for any discriminatory purpose or illegal activity. And then note number 5, footnote number 5, 23andMe's terms state, you will not use the services for any investigative, forensic, genealogy uses. That's 23andMe. And then she goes on to cite MyHeritage's terms of use, which state using the DNA services for law enforcement purposes, forensic examinations, criminal investigations, cold case investigations, identification of unknown deceased people, location of relatives of deceased people, using cadaver DNA and or all similar purposes is strictly prohibited unless a court order is obtained. Can you believe it? So that's Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, and MyHeritage. None of them allow you to use them for forensic, criminal investigation forensics. And then the other one that's not on this list, what's the name of it? Let me look on the paper. They don't allow you to upload data from other sites. There's one other one here, and they don't allow you GED match. GED match won't allow you to upload. So basically, what these terms of use are saying is that law enforcement didn't have the right to use their product for a real criminal investigation. That's not what it's for. It's for the general public to try to find their loved ones and to learn about their history. It's not meant to be a tool for law enforcement. And personally, I think they need to designate one company for law enforcement. There's one go-to for all law enforcement agencies, just like CODIS. If you need, the genealogy tree stuff done, just one go-to place. Huh? The terms of service for all of these genealogy software places is saying you can't use it for that. I guess what I'm saying is we might as well carve the DNA out of the picture because it's not going to be introduced in trial, and even if it is, it's going to be tossed out. It's going to be tossed out. Huh? What do we say about it? Because when you think about it, they didn't have permission to use one of those ancestry places on the side and then give, but that's why the information that they gave, the FBI gave Moscow, they said it was a tip. Remember, it said the FBI tipped Moscow police that the DNA belonged to Brian Kohberger. They gave it to him as a tip. It wasn't on official documents or anything. Out of this 51 terabytes, what's not in there is the process for the DNA. A report for the DNA, how they got it and the results, the genealogy, that's not in there. NASDAQ baby, yes, hard truth, they locked and loaded Brian, didn't they? Yeah, they locked him and loaded him, but I don't think they're going to be able to hold him. Anybody can just go and arrest somebody, but you got to prove your case. And thank God for the court system, where you can't just point at somebody and say they did something and just, let them ship them down the river. You can't do that. You got to give people due process. You have to give people due process. And so my verdict on the DNA genealogy is this. Law enforcement did not follow protocol when they tested the DNA with the genealogy. They did not. They did not. Tell them again. Tell it to L. Tell them again. You got the right name. Tell them. Tell it to L. I think they had high hopes of making some other stuff work and stick. Then the web sleuth showed them they can't play us like that. And they've been digging and coming up with nada so far. Shout out to Tell It to L. That's right. They complain about the web sleuths, but we're just holding them accountable. If you got the right guy, prove it. Even if you don't prove it, tell us something that makes sense to where we can be with you on it and say, hey, crucify him. That's what people say. If they know for sure he did it. But you need to let us know. We can communicate all around the world now. It's people in Australia and Scotland and New Zealand and UK, Canada, South Africa, Kenya, Barbados, Jamaica. They want to know what in the world happened to those kids. Even they want to know, and they don't even live over here. AF, he will have to give up the others to survive. More will be arrested. Shout out to AF. You are a busybody tonight. Thank you so much. Okay, did y'all hear me? AF Sticker says he will have to give up the others to survive. More will be arrested. Right? Okay, and maybe you can explain this a little further, AF, so everybody understands what you mean. Because I think I know what you mean, but I think I'd rather you explain. Okay? And thank you so much for taking part and supporting the channel. Always being so active for us. Thank you, AF. All right? We as a community need to disregard the DNA because I said that. Because the PCAs already stated that it's possible that it could be thrown out. So we need to go to the next step, which is the cell phone things, which again, right. That's what I said. Because, they told us from the beginning that it was a big farce, the DNA. It was just a way to arrest this guy. They pretty much told us that in so many words in the paperwork. When Don Daniels was saying don't count this and don't count that, and this is not the real basis for the arrest warrant when it was. Remember that? Y'all are doing great tonight. Wow. We got some big ideas going around here right now. Big ideas. All right, just for the tea. I'm still troubled why the PCA doesn't say time of death were also in correlation to liver temperatures, etc., but just DM statement and xenophone activity. Shout out to Just Here for the Tea. What y'all think about that? The time of death was 11:58, the time that they called the WIC home. This is what she said, and I'll be honest with you. We really can't blame Kathy Marbida. I always mess up her name. We can't blame her for just slapping 11:58 on that paper because look how long it took them to call the police. She didn't. Look how long it took everybody to get there. It's not an excuse, but I'm just saying. They put her at a disadvantage from the beginning. And then the detectives didn't even show up until 4:30. So, from my experience, I thought the coroner is supposed to show up as soon as they know about the crime. That's what I thought. From the crime shows I watch, the detectives come to the scene and nobody moves the bodies until the coroner comes and see how they were positioned. But the coroner, once they notify of a homicide, I thought the coroner is supposed to show up to the scene immediately. Or do they have the right to wait for certain detectives to show up or whatever? I thought you're supposed to show up immediately. That's my understanding of the procedure. Maybe it's different in different states and in different countries. How do y'all do it? over there in the UK? How do y'all do it in Australia, in Scotland, or Scotland Yard? How does Scotland Yard do it? When you hear that there's a homicide reported, the coroner is supposed to go to the scene immediately, right? Maybe, huh? Is that true? I'm listening. What y'all got? What y'all got? Jerry Langston, Nashville, Tennessee. Here, shout out to Jerry. Jerry, what you got to say? Please help us. Please help us, Jerry. All right. They got fake news influencers on Crucify Brian mode because they knew their case was going to blow up. Shout out to Blah. Yeah, they controlled the narrative real good at the beginning, didn't they? They had us, I mean, it was blow after blow. DNA, ID in the car, and he's been separating his trash. He washed his car when he got home, peeping out at the police. I mean, they had us going so good, thinking this guy was just a dead ringer for as a suspect. No search warrant or protocol when collecting his father's DNA. Shout out to Tina. Okay? Did they have permission to get Mr. Kohberger's DNA out of that garbage can? And then they said it was in the neighbor's trash. They didn't have a warrant for the neighbor's trash. So if Brian Kohberger put his trash in the neighbor's trash, they didn't have a warrant to go in the neighbor's trash. So they didn't have a right to get his father's DNA. If he put his garbage in the neighbor's trash, he knew exactly what he was doing because they would have needed a warrant for the neighbor's trash to get it out. Especially if the trash can wasn't down there at the side of the road, it was on their property. If they hadn't taken it down there to the road, you know how you have to roll your garbage can? We have to roll our garbage can uphill. Ugh. And then sit it up there for the people to pass by and dump the trash. So a lot of people, they keep their trash can right there next to the house, and then they roll it down to the street. And those are big houses with long driveways. It's not some small neighborhood where everything's crammed together. And so where exactly was the neighbor's trash can? Because they didn't have a right to go. They say once you throw something away, the police can have you. But my question is, if your garbage can is not down there on the street, the police can't come up on your porch or behind your house and go in your garbage. If I throw something away in my garbage, if it's not down there at the side of the street, the police cannot come in my yard and go in my garbage and say, oh, you threw this stuff away so I can look through it. That's not true. They said he put his trash in the neighbor's garbage. That lets you know they're trying to say that he knew they couldn't go in the neighbor's trash to get it. But they did. They're saying they did. They did go in the trash and get it. And that was the neighbor's trash. They didn't have warrant for neighbor's trash. So we know that's another, the DNA is out. It's no use in even believing that I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. That you telling me you got his father's trash in December when this guy lived in Washington and all his stuff was still at the school. His apartment was still intact. All his stuff was still in his apartment. Why couldn't you just get his DNA out of his apartment or off his desk at WSU? Why did they have to go in somebody's trash? And why did the FBI use one of these websites that if you look at the screen, they had no business using to process the DNA from the trash? All of it stinks to high heaven. All of it stinks. And the $1 million question is, if Brian wasn't there and he didn't leave his DNA, and there was nobody, I don't believe that his DNA was on that knife haphazardly. I don't believe he handled the sheath. I don't believe he ever came in contact with the sheath. I believe if his DNA was on that sheath, somebody put it on there, and they had plenty of opportunity to do it, because he left his property in his apartment. And if he was a TA, he had a desk and a phone at the school. They had to have a way to approach him and to call him and reach him. He had his own computer. He might have had his own office, period. So they had plenty of access to his DNA. Why did they have to go bust in these people's house in Pennsylvania and get his DNA? I'm just saying, the DNA is a farce. It's a farce. So we need to get past that and stop going around saying, well, why, if he didn't do it, why do they have his DNA? It's a farce. Shout out to Miss Rivera. Shout out to Miss Rivera. Good to see you, and thank you. Welcome. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Cindy Abbott Titdor. I put some in neighbor's trash like this week because I had bug infestation and got rid of a lot of stuff. They only emptied one canister, LOL, so I had to. Shout out to Cindy. Yeah, when you put it in the neighbor's trash, if the police come looking for you and your stuff, they can't just go over there in the neighbor's trash looking for your stuff. I mean, how could they say they watched Brian put his trash in the neighbor's trash? Okay, well, why did you have to break in the house to arrest him? Why didn't you just go over there and get the trash and go on to the lab and do what you got to do? It's just a big lie sitting up in the middle of that. All right, let's keep it moving. I don't think Coroner Mabu ever saw the bodies at the house or the autopsy. Shout out to Terry. Well, I don't know about that. I know she came after the fact, and nobody seems to have seen the bodies leave the house. And that's strange too. Tell it to L. And if he wore gloves as they claim, I mean, after all, this was touch DNA. It makes me want to wear gloves because I don't want to get accused of anyone else crime due to touching a door handle, etc. That's true. That's true too. Shout out to Tell It to L. That's true. It's a lot of reasons why he might want to wear gloves. Be honest, I can think of several. I can think of several. Just off the top of my head. Agape Love. Shout out to Agape Love. What's going on while the paramedics waited on the out-of-town Mayberry law enforcement to arrive? 45 hours, the victims laid there. Really? They laid for a long time, didn't they, Agape? That's a long time for those kids to be in that house. My heart, that hurt my heart right there. Just to think of, imagine if they lost their lives somewhere around 2 or 3 in the morning, and the bodies were there until what, 7 o'clock that evening. Do you know how insane that is? Almost going on 18 hours or whatever. You know how insane that is to have 4 kids laying in a house in their own bodily fluids for that long, for whatever reason. It's insane. I'm telling you, it's insane. It's disgusting. It's just unfathomable to me that you could do that. How do you do that? I don't know. All right. Shout out to Audrey Cakes. Thank you. You're doing an awesome job. You're an awesome moderator. You know that? These are some beautiful designs you've been putting up too. Thank you, Audrey. This case stinks like a mad polecat and heat. Cindy Abbott Tendor. Shout out to Cindy. I wasn't expecting that one. A mad polecat and heat. All right. Okay. Now, let's see. NASDAQ baby and agape love. Can either one of you answer this question? What jurisdictional authority would Don Daniels have to be involved with a murder investigation in Idaho? All right, that's what Kenyon asking the question. And Don Daniels is a WSU or Washington police. She doesn't really have any jurisdiction in Moscow, be honest, as far as I know. All right, I'm gonna give you a brain for that. She doesn't have any jurisdiction in Moscow. I don't know why they mix and match over there like they're not two separate states, but it seems like they carry on like Moscow and Pullman are in the same state and they're not. I mean, maybe they're just doing that automatically because they're so close together. I don't know. But I'm telling you, Don Daniels, I know after the guy got arrested, did they arrest him? The sergeant, I know he lost his job. He had to resign for predatory behavior over there on WSU campus. When he resigned, Don Daniels got one of the positions because he wasn't the only one that got laid off. They resigned. So Don Daniels came at that time. And I think that the guy resigned a week before these murders. The sergeant over at WSU. He resigned 1 week before the murders. And then I'm thinking, I'm not sure when exactly Don Daniels' promotion was, but I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that one up. Okay, I'm going to look that one up. All right, and let's go back to our sheet for a minute. Let's go to number, let's see. Let's go back to number 5. Let's just start up there. Let's look at number 5 on Leah Larkin's affidavit. Let's look at number 5. All right. Number 5. On the affidavit filed by Leah Larkin. I'm going to read it, and I want to make a few points. All right, number 5 says, genetic genealogy is best described as the use of DNA data to evaluate biological relationships. All right, there are 3, this is the wrong one. Genetic genealogy primarily uses autosomal DNA tests that were originally designed for biomedical research. Okay, this is number 5 that I'm reading from. And let's look up autosomal. All right, autosomal means that a specific, okay, J Lord, I didn't know J Lord was in here. Shout out to J Lord, where you at? I see him buzzing in my phone. Maybe, are you in here in the, J Lord, are you in here or are you in one of the videos? I'll give you the shout out just in case you're in here. If you're in here, make yourself known, please, please. All right, autosomal means a specific gene is not on a sex chromosome and is a numbered chromosome. Humans have 46 total chromosomes. Each parent gives you 23 via egg or sperm for a total of 46. There are 2 sex chromosomes and 22 numbered. An autosomal means that a specific gene is not on a sex chromosome and is a numbered chromosome. Now, let's go back to what she said and try to make some sense out of it. Number 5 said it primarily uses autosomal DNA tests. So those tests, a gene is not on a sex chromosome for the autosomal. All right, well, let's keep going. Tests were originally designed for biomedical research. Since 23andMe brought their health tests to the consumer market in late 2007, Family Tree DNA, my gosh, how many DNA places are there now? Family Tree DNA, Ancestry DNA, MyHeritage, and a handful of smaller companies have launched their own genetic genealogy products. There are so many of them. It's becoming exhausting, really. These companies all provide genealogy tools to their customers on their websites and also produce a raw DNA data file. That's what we need to be concerned about, the raw DNA data file that the customers can download. The raw data file contains the genetic profile for that customer. So this is the problem I have with this genealogy in this database, in this IgG, all of it. This is the problem that I have. And you tell me what you think. Oh, Tallulah Sharp in the house. Whoa. What's up, Tallulah? Let's send her some love. Much love to everybody. This is the problem I have with all of this DNA, genealogy, family tree stuff. It's just like Wikipedia. You can download your DNA profile. You can upload your profile to somebody's site. You are in complete control of your own data. It's not secured. It's not, I mean, you could, who's to say what people are uploading? It's not monitored to where, I mean, it's just like Wikipedia. Anybody can add information to it or take something out if they figure it's not true. And so everybody's walking around with their own raw DNA data file, uploading it and downloading it from wherever. There's no oversight. That's the problem I have with this. It's not developed enough. It's not widespread enough. It's underdeveloped as far as being a tool for a community. And there's no oversight. I mean, look at this. This list is getting longer. This list is longer than it was when the crime first happened. Ancestry.com, GED.me, My Match, Your Match, 23andMe. I mean, it's just, the list is just getting ridiculous. And it's getting longer and longer, and it's not 100%. It's not 100%. Tallulah Sharp, the police were going into my neighbor's home with a warrant. They came to my door to let me know so we would stay inside. I think they got verbal permission from the neighbor to retrieve the trash. Okay, are you saying in this Idaho 4 case that the people next door to Brian gave the police permission to retrieve the trash? Shout out to Tallulah. Is that what you're saying? That's certainly possible. They gave the police permission to go in that trash next door to Brian? Or was it across the street where they bought the house the day before or the day after the murders? Is that where the trash was? Is that who gave permission to search the trash? Huh? Elwing, it is all theater as if BK was fugitive escaping across country. Right? Shout out to Elwing. It seemed like they thought he was fleeing the way they acted once him and his dad set out. Don't you think that was kind of weird? I mean, just hours after they left Kopaka's apartment, they're looking for Brian on the highway. There has to be some connection there. There has to be. There has to be some type of connection. All right, but I'm trying to get through to my points here with the affidavit. And like I said, there's no oversight here. That's what number 5 tells us. There's no oversight, or there's not enough oversight. Even though the terms of use are at the bottom of all of these different genealogy products, the police seem to still be using it for forensic investigations anyway, which makes the results null and void. But I guess they say at least they know the truth about something if they go ahead and do that. But this is a problem. This is a problem. There's no oversight. This big list of companies, and in the PCA they casually say, oh, the FBI used some genealogy website, the same kind the public uses, and they just kept on moving from there. They didn't even tell us which one it was, if there were any formalities involved that we could trust. Nothing. Just, oh, we use the Ancestry.com like website, the same type of you use. And so they didn't use FBI resources. Some man was sitting in his car, like I said, eating a sandwich, looking this stuff up on a laptop. And then once he decided, he connected enough dots to point it to Brian, that there we have a tip. Then we have a tip. All of a sudden we have a tip. That's the way it seems. All right? Tina Velez. I think the FBI agent Payne across the street from his parents' house walked across the street and asked the neighbor, who was probably a friend, to let her collect it. All right? I'm going to give Tina a brain. Good going. Because somebody named Payne, Susan Payne, did buy in the house across the street. And so when they start talking about the neighbor's garbage, it's almost like they're telling on themselves. All right? Telling on themselves. What neighbor? Okay. NASDAQ, baby, he is way too intelligent for FBI to not snatch him up. Yes, well, I concur. But at the same time, you can't just go find you a scapegoat and pin him up on a donkey and say, well, let's spin the bottle and see what we got here. That's not how it works. Blah, he was definitely on a list, NASDAQ. What type of list? Let's talk about that. How did they come up with Brian Kohberger in the first place? Somebody please tell me. Somebody please tell me how this man became super suspect number 1, went from being a TA in authority over students to a killer of students. Somebody please explain to me how somebody they trusted to be a teacher over college students became a killer of college students, and he doesn't even know these kids. And he doesn't have a record of sex offender, you know. He doesn't have a record of that. He doesn't have a record of assaulting anybody. There has to be some symptoms of him being a psychopath. Before now, visual snow and talking crazy on the internet, that's not going to get it. I'm talking about psychopathic tendencies where he's somewhere mutilating animals, or he assaulted one of his parents, or something where you know that violence is in there. It just is still looking for a way to come out. That violence had to be there inside of him before November the 13th. And we should be able to look back and see some evidence of it. There should be some anger in his voice online. Not some solemn speech about how he's miserable or he doesn't have any emotion. No, we're looking for anger because look at the magnitude of the crime. Look at how they mutilated these kids' bodies. Look at how they went in there and pretty much just degraded these kids. So we're looking for anger and emotion, aggression, and we just can't find it in this guy's history. It's not there. It should be there. It's got to be there. If he committed these crimes, that anger and aggression has to be somewhere. You know, he was supposed to jump out of his car on that body cam traffic stop and point in the lady's face like Ted Bundy used to do, pointing in people's faces and get loud and stuff. And you can see that aggression. You can see it in him coming out. And so even when he's not using it, we know it's in there. We've been looking for that for Brian for months and we can't find it. I'm looking for anger in this man's life and I can't find it. I can't even find it since he's been arrested. I see he's been looking pretty mad when he comes in the courtroom, but he still behaves himself accordingly. Where is this anger and this lack of self-control that has to be a part of his life for him to obtain, unalive 4 people he doesn't know? Where is the anger? And where did they get this guy from? Where is it? I wonder if FBI agent is related to Moscow Officer Payne. We still trying to figure that out, Tina. They had the same last name, Payne. We still trying to make the connection. I know I have been. I haven't let that go. But I don't want to misspeak, and I don't have the evidence to back it up. I can speculate that they were related, but I need evidence. But I am looking at that. By the way, the trip of his father flying out, and I'm going to homeless player months in advance because Kohberger does not like to fly. His father was helping him drive home. All right, thank you for that information. Shout out to NASDAQ, baby. Where are the fellas at? Y'all want to sneak out? We got Elwing. We got where's all the fellas? Y'all sleeping? Okay, they said was playing months in advance, and I believe that. I believe it was because they both looked shocked. I really believe it was. Okay, now I'm going to ask y'all a question. I don't want you to freak out. This is not a pro Brian Kohberger question. This is not it. I'm going to ask you a question, and I already know what some of you going to say. Okay, oops, excuse my language. What kind of language are you using, Miss Rivera? You don't look like the type to... What kind of language are you using? No aggression, right, HT? Yeah, Elwing. Shout out to Elwing. I'm just saying. You know, you expect this guy to be out of control in many aspects. Look how Darrell Brooks carried on once they arrested him and put him in a courtroom. I mean, at one of them, he had his shirt off sitting at the camera. And my heart went out to his mother because she was watching this garbage on TV. You know, this is her child. In the courtroom, acting like, I don't even want to describe it. But we all saw Darrell Brooks show his natural, true behind on international TV after he drove through that parade. And so his behavior and Brian Kohberger's behavior is like night and day. You cannot see that level of aggression in Brian Kohberger. He might be holding it in. But for my grandma used to tell me when the sheep in wolf's clothing comes around, sooner or later, he's going to be hot in that sheep suit because he already got hair on his body. Sooner or later, he's going to sneak somewhere and take that suit off just to get him a little break and put it back on. And she said, if you paying attention, you'll catch him when he's doing it. I've been watching Brian Kohberger coming out of court since they arrested him. And I've been looking for just that moment, that one moment when he loses his grip and he's not polite, he's not silent, he says more than 2 words at a time, or he rolls his eyes, lick his tongue out at somebody, anything. And I have not been able to find it. And so some people associate that level of self-control with psychopathy. The fact that maybe he could have done these things and then sit there like he, is just ready to go home and play PlayStation. I mean, it's possible, but like I said, everything has symptoms. Anything that's in the spirit realm has a natural symptom. Like if you have a cold, you can tell people you don't have a cold all day long. But if you have a cold, sooner or later you're going to sneeze or cough. Your eyes going to water. There's going to be evidence of that cold in the natural physical realm that you can't hide. If you have a cold, you're going to sneeze at least once during an hour, or a cough. Your eyes going to be watery. I mean, it might be several symptoms, but you're going to show some symptoms if you have a cold. So if you're a murdering psychopath, you have some anger and psychological issues, emotional issues, deep-rooted, and they got to show sometime. There's got to be some history of you manifesting what's inside of you. And I haven't seen that with this guy. I haven't seen him call anybody out of their name. He hasn't made any statements. When he comes to the courtroom, he grits his teeth a little bit to where his cheek, his underjaw, you can see it tighten and loosen, and he'll hold his hands together. He says we're overanalyzing his body language. I say he doesn't have any body language to analyze other than gritting down on his teeth, and giving them a half a second fake smiles, being polite. I have yet to see any body language to analyze. So somebody tell Brian Kohberger, we're not overanalyzing your body language because we don't have any body language to analyze except for those traffic stops. But as far as in the courtroom, we don't have any body language to analyze. Won't you give us some? Won't you say something or do something to let us know who we're dealing with while you sitting over there in that chair, in that suit? Won't you do that? All right? Now, where are we? This guy seems so lack anger and sexual deviant past. These huge red flags. Hope defense pull in MH peeps who will attest to this. All right? Shout out to Cindy. Matter of fact, Cindy, I'm going to give you a brain for mentioning the lack of a sexual deviant past. Because remember, Papa Roger said that even though there was no evidence of sexual assault, the crimes were sexually motivated. And I think the fact that he attacked females it supports that. And we could say that Ethan was just a casualty. But you got a house full of girls, and 3 of them are dead. I would submit that there is some sexual element to it. Maybe they didn't have the time to do everything they wanted to do. Or maybe something went wrong to where we know at least 2 of them fought back, so that wasn't going to happen. Not like they wanted it to. But I think there was a sexual undertone to the crime for the simple fact that we have a house full of girls there, and 3 of them are deceased. And the survivors are female. So anytime you have violence like that, 9 times out of 10, there is a sexual undertone in it. And I've read this in studies. I should have brought, I got a big long study I found on violent stabbing crimes using knives and stuff. And it is very informative. I need to make a video off of that. I know y'all tired of me reading our papers, but hey, when these documents come in, I'm just trying to get them all out of the way so I can make some videos I like, to make with the imagination, create some stuff where y'all think she's really going off the deep end this time. I know y'all think that when y'all watch some of my videos, the more creative ones, but I just try to have fun, make some different stuff sometimes. But right now, these documents are very important. This one here is very important. You know, if it's not that big a deal, I'll let somebody else read it. I know how to read, but some of it is not worth it. It's not enough for news, or 15 people already read it before I even made a video, so why should I read it? You know, you're allowed to watch other channels. My God. So, I mean, this to me is important, this affidavit. I'll read this one. But some of it, when I start reading the papers, some people are like, well, I'll be back when you finish reading. Okay, listen. Where were we on this list? Because so far we learned that these genealogy websites don't want the police using their sites as a forensic tool. That's what we learned from these footnotes. All right, let's look at the next one, which is number 8. And y'all gonna like this one. You're gonna like this one as a discussion. Number 8, a standard DNA microarray requires approximately 2 ng of quality DNA. The quality and quantity is often not available from crime scenes or degraded human remains. Instead, specialized laboratories can generate a SNP profile through a more complex process. See, it takes more than just sitting around with a tree when you don't have that much of a sample. And it's just touch DNA in the beginning. First, they attempt to sequence the entire genome using next generation sequencing technology. This technology works a bit like skimming while reading a document. On the first pass, NGS technology will not capture all of the data, and it may make mistakes. NGS involves repeated passes called coverage to get more accurate results. For human genome sequences, 30x to 50x coverage is recommended. All right, now, first of all, we have a standard to go by when we read these documents about the DNA. If we ever get the information, we know that 30x to 50x coverage is the standard that we need to be looking for, because this is what she recommended. Okay, if we ever get a chance to really review the DNA, the actual documents from the labs or whatever. Now, the main point I got from this is they're saying, hey, if you don't have that much, the quality and quantity is often not available from crime scenes or degraded human remains. Do you think they had enough from touch DNA on a button snap to identify Brian? Do you think they had enough of a sample for it to pass from Idaho to Texas to FBI and back to Idaho? Do you think they had enough of a sample to do all these things? Did he have enough of a sample to send this thing to Idaho State Lab, and then to Texas, and then to FBI, and then the FBI back to Idaho, and then Idaho did something else? That's 4 different testing situations. Did they have enough of a sample to do that? Do you believe it? Do you believe they had enough? Let's see what's in the comments. The media and YouTubers, this is Miss Rivera. The media and YouTubers go over petty situations and say it all dramatic like that automatically makes him a killer. All right, shout out to Miss Rivera. Yeah, that's true. And talk about him like we know him, like we actually have had conversations with this man, and we haven't. At least I haven't, not yet. Now listen. Let me go back. Pink Unicorn. Oh my God, really? Then that's all I need to know. Shout out to Pink Unicorn. What a odd, nice name. All right. Shout out to Pink Unicorn, and I've seen some love. All right. I'd be screaming innocence like a real crazy person by now if I were BK sitting up in jail. Me too, tell the L. I would be demanding phone calls, demanding something for my nerves. throwing my plate back at him. I don't want that dog food. I want my mama. I'll be shot out too. I'll be like, you can't be serious. Quadruple murder. If y'all don't let me out of this jail, boy, it's gonna be some repercussions up in here. That's how I'll be talking. I'll tell you, if y'all don't let me out of here, it's gonna be some repercussions. Okay? Just here for the tea. I thought I had just here for the tea. I'm sure. I don't know if you talked about the DNA there. Poster child. Shout out to poster child. The chief said, make it idiot proof. And Payne thought he said, prove you're an idiot. Shout out to poster child. All right. We got another one. All right. Look, newbies. Y'all need to tell the newbies to call the officer Opie so we don't get sued or whatever. Okay? Whenever we're talking about the lead detective on the Idaho 4 case, we refer to him as Opie. O-P-I-E. That's his name, his nickname. Okay? We don't want you to get in any trouble because they don't like us talking about the police or the military. Really, usually I don't have anything to say about the police or the military. But this time, the police are just really out of order a lot. And I just think it's unfortunate because this young man had a bright future. And we might really just be screwing up this time as a society, really. And I just hope, the truth hurry up and come all the way out so we can just really rest because the way they did those kids is wrong. The way they died and left them laying up in their house, it makes me angry. It just really makes me angry, honestly. Pink unicorn. If he was a vegetarian, I doubt he could stab someone. Let me give you a brain, pink unicorn. Because guess what? I don't believe so either. I don't believe this man was that picky that he didn't want his mom using pots that had meat cooked in them, that he would go in there and stab some flesh. I don't believe it either. And that's something we don't really talk about that much. But I don't believe it either. I mean, for him to be that obsessive about not eating something that had meat cooked in it, come on. How could he go and stab some flesh and deal with all of that blood? He gave a like to a Trump video. What? Are you serious or are you joking around? Blah. Are you serious or are you joking around? Huh? Come on now. Is this speculation, a rumor, or whatever? How do we know that? Oh, well, he did that to Twitter. All right. 62 FBI agents for a town of 20,000. You tell me if that's reasonable. NASDAQ, baby. All right. My research showed that people keep talking about this. My research showed that they had the ATF and the stakeout in Washington and Pullman. People keep saying they were in Moscow. We need to get to the bottom of that. Was it Pullman or Moscow? Because according to the police annual reports, the stakeout was in Pullman and they had a lot of informants in Moscow. Right? Just here for the tea. Doesn't it still have to be done legally on paper, rather permission or not? Wouldn't it still have to be done legally? It's supposed to be done legally. Supposedly. But there's a lot of stuff supposed to be done legally on paper. But it's not. So we can expect some more of these same shenanigans, I guess. Now. Right, no aggression, Elwing, no aggression. It's just missing. Nobody can say that, none of the students could say that man snapped on them, hollered at them, You know how teachers get reported for threatening to kill the student or whoop his behind. We didn't get any of that. Only thing they could say about that man was that he graded him too hard, that he did his job and didn't let him be lazy. I mean, that's all they could say about him. Even the girl he went out on the Tinder date with, she couldn't come up with too much either. If he was a psychopath, what was he doing in her apartment? Wouldn't she get the vibe not to let this man in her house? She's not credible either, because you don't meet somebody on an app and let them come to your house the first date. That's scary to me. That's high risk behavior is what I call high risk behavior, to meet a man online and then turn around and let him meet you at your house, or y'all go on a date and come back to your house. And this is the first time you met this man. Get out of here. You don't do that. I don't care how nice they look on the app and how nice they talk, and I don't care how nice they act or talk at the restaurant. You don't bring somebody that's a stranger to your house. Talking about a date. Because if he was a psychopath, she could have been the first witness. And who would know, you know? I'm sure he's not the only person she went out with. They're going to have to go through his phone and figure out which one of them it is. So I don't think Kohberger should have been in her apartment if they met on Tinder and that was the first date. I mean, if you let a man come to your apartment on the first date, I'm surprised all he did was try to tickle her. Because I know some guys that if you let them come to your house on the first date, they're going to be very aggressive about taking it to the next level sexually. You know, whether y'all drinking, doing drugs or not. I'm just saying. The average man gonna take that as, hey, I'm at her house sitting on a sofa, the bed's right there, and I just met her 20 minutes ago. It must be party over here, party over here. That's what I mean, a man is gonna think. You know, of course he tickling, he wanna do something. And y'all at your house, so you might as well do it, because he shouldn't be in there. He had no business in there. And then you saying you went in the bathroom and pretend like you were throwing up. So not only did you let a stranger in your house on the first date, you left him unattended in your house. You in the bathroom with your door shut, and he's in your house. He could do anything. It's just a red flag, high risk date. That's all that was. But my point is, he didn't harm this lady, and he's supposed to be this psycho serial killer where they pulling his parents to court over cold cases. Well, she survived. And she couldn't really say nothing about him except that he was weird and he tried to tickle her. And you know, I give her credit though. What's her name? Haley or Kaylee? I give her credit because she really could have lied on Brian big time, and she didn't go that far. All she said was that he was weird, creepy, whatever. She could have really lied on Brian and made it a lot worse for him. But she only went so far, you know, to get a few dollars for an interview. But she really could have done him in. He really owes that girl, because she could prove that she went on a Tinder date with him from our software. She could have said, oh, he was chasing me around the sofa with a knife. I just didn't want to call the police. You know how people lie. She could have came up with a big juicy one, and who would have disputed it? It would have been the gospel. They would have wrote it down. They would have engraved it in the back of the King James Bible what she said. Because she went out on a date with him, she must know. So if she would have said something terrible about him, boy, they would have wrote that in stone like the 10 Commandments. But she didn't do him like that. So I give Haley, I think her name is Haley, I give her credit for that. Because what she said about him, it supported that he was creepy, but it didn't do him in. So it could have been a lot worse. Okay, agape love. If Kohberger was working deep undercover, someone in that town did not want him around, especially with his cyber knowledge. Okay, shout out to Agape. Great comment. Because we know that when he put his proposal into the police, he said his interest was cloud forensics. All right, cloud forensics. There's his cyber knowledge right there. She's correct. All right, Cindy Abbott Titdor. You are right. Most sexually deviant and assault began well before age 28. I work with kids who committed sex crimes with onset at 12 or in teens. All right, Cindy, you get a brain for being an expert. Because we know there has to be some type of manifestation. I mean, the Bible is not going to lie. And the Bible tells you, you know, whatever you bind on earth is bound in heaven. And whatever's going on in the spirit realm, there's gonna be some manifestation of it in the natural. Okay? If you got a lust spirit burning in your chest all the time, there's gonna be a trail of evidence that you're having a lot of sex with people. Whether you going to prostitutes or whatever you're doing, there's gonna be some evidence of that in you. You know? It might just, you know, what the manifestation may be very small. And just like there's a manifestation in the physical of what's going on in the spiritual, you know, after something has happened in the spiritual, in the natural, there's residue. Let me put that word in the chat. I want to talk about that for a minute. Have you ever seen somebody get up in church and say, and this is not an attack on the gay community, so don't start tripping on me and saying stuff. Listen, have you ever heard, I have heard a man get up in church more than once and say that he was, quote unquote, delivered from homosexuality. And from that point on, he dated women. And he said he was delivered from a quote unquote homosexual spirit. But at the same time, the man still has very feminine mannerisms. His walk and his, you know, maybe even some flamboyancy. Even though he says that he's quote unquote delivered from a homosexual spirit. We call that residue. The person says that they're delivered from some spirit, but the person still, their behavior, like 10% of their behavior still shows the same thing. They kind of still act like it. We call that residue. Okay? And so the residue is the behavior that's left over after you have, you know, spiritually denounced something or been delivered from something, quote unquote. The residue is there, I guess, if the person maybe isn't completely delivered, because the Bible says whom the Son sets free is free indeed. There should be any residue if the anointing destroyed the yoke. And so what I'm trying to say is, with Brian Kohberger, there's residue of a drug addiction. I can see it. So I'm good. I'm comfortable with that one. Because I can see the residue of something that happened in his past. I'm good with that. But I don't see the residue of sexual deviance. And I don't see the residue of somebody full of rage. Because you can't sit up there and kill 4 people. Even if all they did was go in there and stab each person one time, everybody passed away and they left. Even if it wasn't the degree of violence that it was, even if it was just a very mild stabbing case, that person had to have some rage for them to be able to carry that out. And I don't see the residue of that in Brian Kohberger's life. I don't see that in his history. I don't see it. I see him being in subjection to his parents. I mean, how many people can ride cross country with either one of their parents without arguing or saying, you know, who as an adult, I'm saying, to ride all the way across country with his dad, he got to get along with his dad. They had to have a pretty civilized relationship. I don't get that vibe. I don't see the residue, and I don't see any current manifestation of anger, a lack of self-control, sexual deviancy. I don't see it in this young man. I don't see it. And I can't just let somebody make it up or build it up in my mind and there's no evidence behind it. We can't do that. Someone made a good point. They said, what if Brian was in the area and one of the perps called his car in on a so-called tip? Okay, that's just here for the tea. I haven't given a shout out in a while. So let's do that. Just here for the tea, shout out. And let's see about your question. He was in the area and somebody called. Well, are you saying they reported a white car? Because that sounds very reasonable. Honestly, it does. It makes sense that somebody called in a white car. We know who tipped. We know for a fact who tipped Brian off to the police. Remember the Uber driver that says he took Maddie and Kaylee home? He said out of his own mouth that he reported Brian Kohberger's car to police after the December 7th press release. He said that with his own mouth, and I'm gonna type this in the chat. All right, I had a shout out for just for the tea. Let me put that in there. He said that out of his own mouth. So let's see. Uber driver called in BK's car after December 7th. All right, he said it. We know he tipped off police. He was bragging about it. He was bragging about it. And so, let's see. We could do an IGG treat on the pains. Shout out to Denny. I'll give you a brain for that, Denny. Because that might be the only way we find out something. We do our own test. Isn't that right? We can find out if that lady across the street is related to Opie, first of all. We can find that out real quick. So that was a good idea. From Idaho to Washington to Oregon to Reno to Truckee. Quite the circuit and speculation, of course. Shout out to Agape Love. That was cute. Find you a purple heart. Okay. This is good stuff. I think I have gotten a lot of different tips from you guys from things that I didn't even know about the case. And I thank you that you're keeping it on fact, too. You're keeping it all on fact. All right? He's probably afraid of spiders. Why you say that, Blah? Did I mention that the kingpin in Alaska's daughter was an alpha fee and lived in that house? Did I mention that the owner of Mad Greek and the kingpin in Moscow are best friends? All right. Well, how do you know that? You got a lot of information there, that. I'll give you a shout out for that. How you know all this stuff? Give us your sources down so we can adopt and integrate some of this into our theories. This guy seems to lack anger and sexual deviant past. These are huge red flags. Okay, I think we did that one. If months in planning, he only got there 10 weeks earlier. Tina, I'm going to give you a brain for that. That's another critical point in this. Not just the timing of the crime itself, the planning it takes to do something like this. And this guy just got to school in August the 1st. He moved into his apartment. And we know that because the neighbors in Steptoe said he moved in August. So we know that. He moved in August, and then he was up all night vacuuming and stuff and driving around. The neighbor said he was very restless. He seemed to always like busybody be doing something. But to do something like this, we have really a month before Brian went home. A month before, okay, I'm just saying, August, September, October, that's 3 months. And so he was there a little longer than maybe 12 weeks, maybe, or I don't know, something close to that. But you're right. This was planned. This was planned. Somebody, the fact that they didn't go in there with a gun lets us know it was planned. Because you don't just step up in somebody's house with a knife and take for granted that you're gonna be able to get the drop on everybody in there. You can't just do that. You can't just do that. So I know for a fact this was planned for so many reasons, not just this one. And it was so convenient that Kaylee was back home. Kaylee was back at the campus. Big game that night. And they didn't do it Friday, even though the school was closed that Friday. They didn't do it that Friday. Huh? Talk to me. Anything on that? All right, well, I'll go ahead and move on to my next one then. We are on number 12. All right, number 12 says the genetic genealogy databases are siloed from one another. We can stop right there. In other words, they're not all connected together as a network sharing databases to where if you find the DNA identity in one, it's going to spit out the exact same thing no matter where you go. That's not how this is. If it's siloed, that means it's every man for himself. Okay, if you take the identification number off a can of beans and you go to the grocery store and they ring up that number, it's going to be that same can of beans no matter what grocery store you take it to. I'm talking about the United States because they have a UPC label or a unique identifier that all grocery stores use. But when it comes to the DNA, that's not the case. It's not siloed. They're not all using the same number system. So whatever finding that they found, the FBI found, using Brian's dad's DNA or whatever he used, that's one test. But it's not universal across all genealogy tests. That's the point that she's trying to make. It's not, the results they got are not universal across genealogy databases. They're just unique to that test right there. And that's important. All right, let's move to number 18. Number 18. Here's my interaction browser. Okay, here's 18, where you can see it up here at the top. And I'm going to read it quickly. Okay, number 18. What are the odds? It's not intended, and this is a program too. It's not intended to give a definitive answer. Rather, it points to the genealogist toward the most likely branches in the tree for further research. I'm just saying, isn't this how it went? Isn't this how it went that they got a tree and worked their way towards the Kohberger family and then worked their way towards Brian Kohberger because he was already the target before they even got started? Because I don't believe there's any chance in hell or heaven that they piece together Brian DNA from a genealogy tree without any prior knowledge of him being the suspect. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. If you believe it, maybe we'll make a survey, but I don't believe it. I just can't see it happening. Because I just can't. If you can explain it, I'll take your explanation. But what was that? Number 18? The tool is also not appropriate for all circumstances. Okay? Is it for touch DNA? Do you have to have, I'm just saying, there are so many loopholes and so many I's you have to dot and so many T's you have to cross with this DNA. until we might as well just throw it out and say they don't have it. They don't have his DNA. So what do we have left to work this case? Because they don't have it. They don't have his DNA. If they have it, it's something they got after the fact. All right, let's go to number 19. This is very important. The genealogist needs to do this for both the maternal and paternal sides of the person of interest pedigree. So, in other words, they're saying once they got Brian as a suspect, they were supposed to test his mom and his dad. And remember, I told you when I was trying to find Brian's family tree and ancestry, I could find stuff for his dad, but not for his mom. She was in there, but there weren't a lot of relatives on her side, but there were for the father. But this number 19 is saying that they were supposed to do the test for both the mother and the father. They were supposed to take Miss Marianne Kohberger's DNA and cross it with both the mother and the father. All right? We're looking for instances where a descendant in one DNA family tree married a descendant in another DNA family tree because these unions point to where the person of interest might fit into the tree. Often the best we can do with the existing DNA matches is to focus on a set of cousins as candidates. Then more DNA testing is required. Does Kohberger have any cousins? If they have the DNA, could the perpetrator be one of Kohberger's cousins? Is that possible? Is that likely? Let me look it back in the chat and see what y'all are saying. All right. Okay, where are we in the chat? If months in planning. Okay, we did that. Oh, shout out to George Washington. Shout out to George Washington and Robin Gardapi. Welcoming. I'm not sure when y'all landed, but shout out to George first. Let me do that one first. Yeah. We have to talk sometime about physical manifestations and residue. We have to talk about that sometime in the spirit realm. It's very interesting and it's true. All right. Let's see. That was George. And then we got somebody said, Emma doesn't fool me, George. But maybe she is, however. That's what your actions lead to in the real world with dudes like Demetrius. Yeah. George Washington to stay far away from Dimitri. If I'm not mistaken, Emma and Dimitri got caught in Seattle, Washington. Isn't that true? I'm going to wait for somebody to say yes or no. Because I asked this before in this chat. I'm getting ready to look it up. Once and for all. All right, here's the article, and I'll post it right here, right now, where everybody can see it. Let me put this in my browser. Okay, hold on a minute. I don't know how many browsers I'm allowed to have with this streaming. I'm going to try to make another one. All right. I think we're good. We're going to get to the bottom of this right now. Because I'm going to tell you why I don't think that's really a big deal. It could be, but I just can't see it. Okay, it's loading up. Meanwhile, let me read some of it because I think we need to go ahead and put this to rest. It's taking a minute for the browser to load. I'm not sure if it's going to. Oh, yes, it did. Okay, so y'all should be able to see it in a minute. Okay, this article is from the Chronicle. It was written March 22nd, 2023 by Emily Fitzgerald. And it says 2 people in custody after man dies of apparent overdose in Centralia apartment. Emma Bailey, 22, of Moscow, Idaho, and Demetrius R. Robinson, 36, of Tacoma, appeared in Lewis County Superior Court on Wednesday. Now, where is Lewis County Superior Court? Because from what I understood, they were busted in Seattle, Washington. All right, 2 people were arrested on drug offenses after law enforcement connected them to the overdose-related death of a 22-year-old man in Centralia on Tuesday. All right, where is Centralia? Let's see. Right quick. It's in Washington, which is what I thought. Now let's see how far Centralia is from Moscow. Now, here's the map. This is what I'm saying. We have to be rational thinkers. All right? We have to be rational thinkers. Okay, that's the article, but I want to show you the map. All right, let's see. There it is. This is where they were caught. I'm going to read the article, but here's the map. Okay? From Moscow to Centralia is 357 miles away. This is where these 2 were, Emma and Demetrius. Nowhere near Moscow. This is a long ways away, and this is where they were doing dirt. All right, let's go back to the article. No. Officers with the Centralia Police Department responded at about 9 a.m. on March 21st to a report that the man who was found by his friend in an apartment in the 3000 block of Bourse Avenue was unconscious and not breathing, according to a news release from the police department. Where do we hear this unconscious from? Everybody unconscious. Nobody that's dead is dead in this area over here. Everybody that's dead is unconscious over here in Idaho and Washington. According to the friend, the man was visiting from the University of Idaho in Moscow and had attended a party in Seattle the night prior where he overdosed. Okay, he was a long ways away from the university. I'm suspicious of that. I mean, that's a long ways to go for a party, unless he was from Washington. And so he knew people all over the state probably, and that wasn't strange. But if he was from Washington, why didn't he go to WSU? What would he be doing all the way over there in Seattle at a party? What would he be doing? The 22-year-old, God bless the dead, may he rest in peace. What was he doing over there? And what were Emma Bailey and Demetrius doing? Well, we know what they were doing. Okay, it says the friend told law enforcement the man went to sleep and stopped breathing shortly before the friend called 911, according to court documents. The man's official cause of death has not been released. When a preliminary investigation revealed illegal drug use was involved in the man's death, Centralia detectives launched a controlled substance homicide investigation, according to a news release from the Centralia Police Department. Due to the suspicion of fentanyl being involved, detectives requested assistance from the Joint Narcotics Enforcement Team, JNet, according to the news release. The poisonous effects of fentanyl are killing individuals and devastating families. With the recent amounts of deadly fentanyl that have been seized in our area, the Centralia Police Department and JNet have made it a priority to not only reduce the manufacturing, distributing, and transporting illegal drugs and guns within our community. How they gonna do that? But to also identify and arrest all the subjects who involved in the delivery of illegal deadly drugs like fentanyl. Okay, this was after the fact that they were arrested in March. While law enforcement officials suspect fentanyl was involved, the two people arrested Tuesday, identified as Emma Bailey, 22 of Moscow, Idaho, and Demetrius R. Robinson, 36 of Tacoma. Okay, so Demetrius wasn't from Moscow, he was from Tacoma. That explains what they're doing over there in Seattle and Centralia. Demetrius is from Washington. And that makes sense because the police reports from Moscow say the dope dealing was going on in Washington, and they had informants in Moscow. But that the dealers were actually living in Washington and probably sending the product down to Moscow, serving the campus area. Okay? They're accused of delivering cocaine to the man shortly before he overdosed at the Seattle party. Okay, so they were dealing with cocaine that night. Demetrius from Washington. Okay, and Emma was over there with him. And so both of them are adults. A 22-year-old knows whether or not they're selling drugs. Okay? And she looks like somebody that he's just using. That's the vibe I get from these two pictures. He's probably got about 5 or 10 Emma Baileys out there spread around. And she probably thinks they're probably dating her partners in crime, but he probably got 5 or 10 Emma Baileys. I mean, he has to have them. He's probably 5 or 10 Emma Baileys. Who said that? Who said that Emma got involved with the wrong guy? Well, listen. Emma is 22 years old. She lives right there by a university. And so I'm sure the classes were open to her just like they were open to the Idaho 4. And life is about choices. And Demetrius, I'm sure he has 5 or 10 Emma Baileys spread out between Moscow and Seattle. And so that was her job to know that. Because it don't take a rocket scientist to figure out you dating somebody that's dealing drugs when you running with them. And you doing it too. It'll be different if you meet somebody and you don't know what they're doing. And in the course of dating them, at some point in the future, you discover, hey, this guy's dealing drugs. That wasn't the case here. They were both doing it. And that's that, baby. Emma should be afraid for her life. She's low on the totem pole. Let me give you a brain for that. Because it's no telling how many girls her age that look just like her are running with this guy. It's no telling. All being told the same thing. I'm surprised sex trafficking didn't pop up yet. That probably was coming next. He might have had somebody at King Road thinking the same stuff. You know, I would expect to see a picture of Demetrius with one of the Idaho 4 before I do Brian Kohberger, because he was right up in it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had some communication with somebody in that house. But Emma, I mean, being arrested, put on probation, it depends. Was this her first arrest, or did she have a history of arrests? Because sometimes these girls can be more shot out than the men. You know, more gang ho about the crime than the men. So we can't always look at the female as a victim. That's why a lot of people say that Dylan and Bethany should be suspects. Because just because they're young girls don't mean they're victims. That does not automatically make them victims because they're young females. Emma Bailey does not look terrified on this picture. Emma Bailey looks just as calm and cool as a cucumber, just like Brian Kohberger on this picture. I don't see any terror in her eyes. I see a small smirk on her face. That's what I see on her photo. I don't see where she's been crying, begging to use the phone. How most people that really are not really criminals on the inside, you know, they go to jail one time and find out that's not for them. I don't see that. Okay. I see she fixed her hair. She hasn't been anywhere laying down in the holding cell crying with her hair all messed up. I see where she prepared herself to take that picture. I see where she's smirking on her mouth as she's mocking whoever's taking the picture. Is it me just seeing these things? Is it me? Just me? Getting this out of it? Huh? Tina, do you see this smirk on her face? Huh? I'm gonna give you a shout out, Tina, because we're on the same page. But let's look at the mannerisms, because on this mugshot, Emma Bailey is almost smiling. And usually when somebody's arrested, when they book you into jail, you go to a holding cell that's freezing, and whatever you got to lay down on is concrete as hard as a brick. By the time they get you in there to take a picture, you should have scrubbed all over the police car and banging on the window asking them, why are you being arrested? And you know how people do. It don't look like she's been through any of that. He's got a question on his face like, why am I being arrested? You can tell he's playing that role. That's usually the role people play when they get arrested. It's like, what are you taking me in? Like, they have no idea why the police are even there. I mean, that's just the golden rule for when you get arrested. But Emma looks very content, very calm. She's got a half a smile on her face. Her hair is neat. Like she hasn't even been, crying or anything. That's what I get out of it, just this picture right here. That's why I don't pay either one of them any attention in this case. Because first of all, they were 357 miles away from Moscow when they got arrested. So King Road was not in the focus for Demetrius. 357 miles? Tell it to L. Emma doesn't fool me, George Washington, but maybe she is. However, that was what's her actions lead to in the real world with dudes like D. Tell it to L, and she doesn't fool me either. I'm going to give you a brain. She doesn't fool me either because she's sitting there smiling on her mugshot. I've seen people get arrested. I can't tell you how many times. And when you get arrested for the first time, or venture to say, really, usually there is no second time, because if you get arrested a second time, you might be just the type that go to jail sometime. But she does not look terrified. She does not look petrified. She doesn't look like, hey, I'm facing manslaughter because this dude OD. Manslaughter. How am I gonna tell my parents? When can I use a phone and call them to come get me? Do I have a bond? That's what people who are terrified, who get in the dope game or whatever, and think they're tough before they go to jail. That's their reaction to that first jail thing. Usually tells it all, and it does here because I don't know if this was her first arrest or not. But if it was her first arrest, she looking very calm and sedated, and like she really don't have a problem being there, and she's smiling. So, I mean, both of them are wrong. Both of them are wrong. Elwing, I have no knowledge of these genealogy websites, so this is not easy to understand it. And it can be manipulated. That well, then you understand it, Elwing. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is that it can be manipulated. I'm gonna give you a brain for that. It can be manipulated because you can upload your own raw data file to any one of these sites, except I think GED won't let you do it. But you can upload your own data, DNA data, to the website. And it could be anybody's. I can have my brother's DNA that's deceased and upload it and say it's mine or whatever, or my sister. Who's gonna be there to catch that? Nobody. And it's no oversight. Nobody's in there trying to say, is this really your DNA? No, they're trying to get something going like Wikipedia. They wanted to get big with a lot of different people's information, so they're not going to be too hard on you as far as they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt, whatever you upload. That's why they're saying they don't want it to be used for forensic purposes, because they know it's unofficial. And they know people can upload foolishness. They know it. So they're saying, hey, don't use this for investigations, because this is commercial, but it's not on the level for criminal investigations. We can't do it. All right, fuzzy cell phone pings. All right. All right, George is asking about the case, so let me go back to the article and finish it, and maybe that'll answer his questions. All right. While law enforcement officials suspect fentanyl was involved, the two people arrested Tuesday, identified as Emma Bailey and Demetrius Robinson, are accused of delivering cocaine to the man shortly before he overdosed in Seattle. I thought they said it was fentanyl involved. So why did they charge them with cocaine? Because fentanyl, a highly addictive synthetic opioid, 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine, is cheaper and more addictive than most controlled substances. It is frequently mixed into other drugs, including cocaine. That's straight getting it right there. You just want to die early or what? Taking this stuff. At the request of detectives, the man's friend sent a social media message to Bailey and attempted to ruse her into meet up to purchase more narcotics. But Bailey allegedly advised she was not willing to sell that the man had died in Dee's arms, and the man needed to get healthy. Now, what you make of that? This is what they say Emma Bailey said. At the request of detectives, the man's friend sent a social media message to Bailey and attempted to ruse her into a meetup to purchase more narcotics. At the request of detectives, they were trying to set her up, but she advised she was not willing to sell. That man had died in Dee's arms, and the man needed to get healthy. See, she's talking strong. Who is that? Thinking Emma really is a victim of Demetrius. See how she didn't even fall for the okie doke. And she telling him to get healthy. That's somebody that's been doing that for a minute. She talking like somebody that's been selling this stuff for a minute. That's not a rookie. That's not somebody that just started doing this last month. She's been doing it. And she's been selling long enough to see people that's really messed up that need to slow down on it. That's why she said the man needed to get healthy. That was trying to get her to sell him the stuff. So she's been doing it. She had been doing it for a while to talk like that. When law enforcement located Bailey and Robinson at residence in Des Moines, Idaho, they reportedly found some loose white powder substance, several $100s in cash of small bills, assorted sizes of small baggies, bottles of white powder vitamins, and empty capsules in a bag sold for the purpose of self-loading, according to court documents. Bailey and Robinson were booked into the Lewis County Jail at about 10 p.m. on Tuesday. They were each charged with one count of conspiracy to commit violation of the Uniform Controlled Substances Act in Lewis County Superior Court on Wednesday. The charge is considered a Class B felony, which carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. Bail was set at $100,000 each on Wednesday. Bailey and Robinson each have arraignment hearings scheduled for Thursday, March 23rd. The Centralia Police Department encourages anyone with information about the man's death to call the Centralia Police Department at blah, 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 or Lewis County Communications at blah, blah, blah. All right, that's what happened. And so the mug shots and the quote tell it all. You know, even in this picture, Demetrius is playing crazy like, why did y'all arrest me? You can see it in his face. He's asking them what he's doing there. Like he doesn't know what happened. He don't know who died. You can look all over his face and tell that's exactly what he's telling the police. And then when you look at Emma, she's calm because she know they're in deep doo-doo. And maybe she got the trump card already. She already know how they're going to get out of it. Maybe that's why she's so calm. And that lets you know that this is not her first rodeo. That's what I get out of just this article and looking at this picture. I really don't even need to see anything else. I could be wrong, yeah. But I'm just saying, this is the vibe I get. All right, let's keep going. And let's see what time it's 11:41. Okay, what do you guys want to close out with? We talked about Emma. We still got a few points on the DNA. But I think some people are tired of talking about the DNA because it's a lot to digest. She's got 22, 23 points there. And I've been through like 4 of them. So I think maybe I need to slow down. You know, the hard truth, chilling like a villain, $100 villain. You know what I'm feeling? Robin Gardapi. Let me give you a shout out for that. That's cute. Oh, that's smooth right there. That's smooth. Shout out to Robin Gardapi. You find your heart. That's rhyme right there. You should be writing some songs. Yeah, you should be writing some songs rhyming like that. All right. Much love to you, Robin Gardapi. Emma is young, but how the heck did Demetrius get out of those charges? Since he was a long rap sheet. I looked at his charges online. I mean, the article. Yeah. Okay, shout out to George. They snitched. What? You know, I need to watch what I say in here before somebody be coming for me. Listen, you know how they got out of it. How do people walk out of jail early? There's only one way. Somebody brought out a big bag of cheese. Somebody went to the grocery store and came back with a block of cheese. That's how they got out. All right. Now let's see. Cindy, Indigo Mom, I heard that. Okay, where's Indigo? Shout out to Indigo. Let me put that. I didn't see Indigo. All right. Much love to you. And let's see what she said. Okay. Indigo Mom. I heard that too. Ethan. Let me get this off of here. Okay, Ethan and Xana. It was likely not because of Xana herself, but rather they were aware of her unfortunate family situation. Okay, shout out to Cindy. All right? And we can bring up OnlyFans now. Oh, NASDAQ, baby, want to talk about OnlyFans. All right? That's fine with me. What y'all know about it? What do y'all know? Ah, Indigo Moon. That's so pretty. Shout out to Indigo Moon. Again, let me find you a blue heart. There it is. That's so pretty. All right, all right. Now, yeah, she is naive. Shout out to Robin. I need to catch up. You right. You usually keep me straight. You being mighty quiet, Robin. What's going on? You acting suspect. Some of these young adults seem a couple sandwiches short of a picnic. Lord have mercy. Y'all just amaze me with some of the stuff you say. Moscow is over the top though. Yeah, it is. I've never seen a little small town like that with so much going on and people just dropping and dying and some of everything going on. And the only thing new in the town is the police station. The only new building in the town is the police station. Everything else looked like it was built in 1906. But the police station is brand new. What did that tell you? Whenever you go to a town and the newest buildings are the police station and the welfare office, it's time for y'all to do, check, do some rearranging or restructuring or whatever you call it. All right, who had OnlyFans? Y'all give me 1 minute. Let me refill my Diet Coke. I'll be right back. Give me about 30 seconds. And we're talking about OnlyFans now. All right. All right, I'm ready. All right, I'm ready. What we got on the OnlyFans? Now, I'm going to tell you who I think was on OnlyFans. I think that Maddie and Kaylee and possibly DM and Bethany were on OnlyFans. I don't think Xana was doing that, but I definitely think Kaylee was, and I definitely think Maddie was because Kaylee was. If Maddie was doing it, Kaylee was doing it. And if Kaylee was doing it, Maddie was doing it. So I think both of them, and then there are pictures of them with a lot of filters and a lot of makeup. I just feel like Maddie and Kaylee were doing OnlyFans, and possibly DM and who else? Possibly DM and Bethany. That's who I believe. All right, that's who I believe is the OnlyFans. What do you think about that? I'm going to take this map down. Do we all agree that the arrest was 357 miles away from Moscow? Okay, so they were on Demetrius's turf. And this girl didn't seem roused or rattled by any of it. All right, so as far as I'm concerned, both of them was deep in the criminal game. And so that's I'm going to just take the map off of here. Students were online over time. Let me see what Agape Love. Students were online over time when it first happened before it got scrubbed and shut down. Right, Agape, let me give you a brain. Because guess what? That's very important. They said the Wi-Fi went down, and then the next, few hours after the crime, I don't know if people were filming it or what, I don't know. My husband and I almost bought property in Idaho 15 years ago. Oh my God, I'm Mia in and driving through that state again. Rather, you're an Idahoan. You know it. You know you're an Idahoan. Huh? Shout out to Robin Latham. Okay, let's see. We're supposed to be talking about OnlyFans. Y'all picked the topic. So, who was the OnlyFans? You think somebody got rejected on OnlyFans and got an address? It's a motive. Maybe somebody. All right, Fallon. Saw on another podcast today they are mentioning blurry photos of what happened that night being circulated, and went to another podcast and there was talk about film. All I know, I got to it late. Shout out to Fallon, and that just supports the snuff film and the fact that these people that did this, they didn't just go in there and murder 4 people and walk away with the satisfaction of knowing that they ruined about 150 lives directly. They had an agenda. And as long as it took to do it, how messy and disgusting the way they left that scene, all points to them trying to film something. So I believe that. I believe that, Fallon. And I don't believe all the pictures are blurry. And I think the blurry pictures, they blurred them so that they wouldn't be so, matter of fact, this is what happened, to where they have to explain where they got the pictures from. But I believe that the whole thing was filmed. I do. I believe the whole thing was filmed. All right, now, OnlyFans, somebody online as an OnlyFans that's looking at these girls. To me, that's a motive for some guy to be, looking at the girls, giving them money. Okay, that's a motive, because some of these guys, once they give you so much money on these little things like OnlyFans, they expect something, and maybe he expected something, he didn't get it. Maybe he didn't get it this time. But I believe the snuff film footage, remember we said sooner or later it was going to be leaked? Yeah. Yeah. I believe it. Montana all the way. Cali now. I hear you, Robin. I think they filmed this. I do too. I do too. These 3 kids, they stopped at Banfield. That's Bernice Rivera. Shout out to Bernice. All right, y'all got me yawning now. I got a shot of caffeine here in the Diet Coke. I don't know if that's going to help. All right, I agree, Hard Truth, yep. I believe it's a motive. If they were OnlyFans, because where did Kaylee get the money to buy that truck? Don't say her parents, because after she passed, they opened up a GoFundMe to finish paying for it. So don't say the parents. Where did Kaylee get the money to buy a Land Rover? Huh? Yeah, we have talked about it, NASDAQ, baby. We saw him at 312 coming out with the white box. Yeah, we saw it. We saw it. I'm just saying we did. We talked about it. If you slow it down, the Range Rover, her parents said she put down $7K. Right? All right, where did she get that from? Tell it to L. Where did she get that from, L? Where did she get the 7 G's? And then wasn't she planning a trip to Europe? Where did she get, where did she get this money from? Let's find the 4 men video. It's the body cam, Nasdaq. It's the body cam. All you have to do is slow it down. Play it, slow it in the regular speed, and you'll see it. It's the Banfield body cam. As a matter of fact, Ashley Banfield made one. Ashley Banfield made one. Got a video of that. Just look, News Nation has the coverage. The Banfield body cam. Just look for the one from News Nation or Law and Crime, and you'll see it. You'll see them running. As a matter of fact, Ashley Banfield, she numbers the four people. 1, 2, 3, 4 while they're running. I have it on one of my videos somewhere. I just have to find it. All right, the ring cam, I think that's a scam too. I don't think the people next door picked up enough evidence to even make a difference on their ring cam, if they picked up anything at all. You know? All right, I will never attack Vix. No one deserves to be unalive, but it is sadly true that some engage in high-risk behavior that unfortunately can result in their being harmed. It's not victim blaming, but real. It's true, Cindy. Every time you say something about, one of the Idaho 4, they say it's victim blaming. It's not. In DM and Bethany, it's not. It's not victim blaming. We're just trying to find out what happened. Because I got love for the Idaho 4. I don't want to see this case closed and go into a cold case file. I want them to, I ain't going to say crucify, but I want them to crush whoever did it. I want them to crush whoever did it. I'm just, I'm ready for whoever did it to pay. Simple as that. I'm ready for them to pay. Now let's see if there's anything on here I missed. Let me look at my notes. Let me look at my notes. Yeah, I'm closing this up on Emma and Demetrius. They're just a dime a dozen as far as dealing drugs and stuff. That's never going to change. Never going to change. Well, I hate to be the one to see Leah Larkin in court testifying on behalf of the defense, because she's going to run circles around the prosecution. Leah Larkin. For real. And I'm just saying, that's pretty bad. All right, how y'all feel? Y'all feeling good tonight? All right, we still got 63 people in here. So what are y'all talking about? Kohberger uncovered a lot. Yeah, she coming in hot because, that lady, she knows her business. She is on top of things. And so the DNA, they might as well hang that up. Ain't no use in talking about DNA because Leah Larkin has that sold up. It's just a fact. Somebody's gonna get embarrassed if they try to bring DNA into this case in courtroom. I hate to be there. I don't want to start laughing at people in an important case like this, but I think I'll be laughing at somebody if this lady get up and testify about DNA in Latah County Courthouse with all these degrees and articles she wrote. Man, somebody get ready to get clowned. And I want to be there. Y'all going to the trial? If they have the trial, we got to meet up out there. I guess we'll go on a field trip. How that sound? Indigo Moon. I remember the morning I learned of this crime. Same morning the Virginia Tech football players were shot. I thought they were both mass shootings. When I heard about it, the Idaho 4, I got sick. Yeah, I did too. Shout out to Indigo. Yeah, I remember on each side of the country something grotesque was going on. When they shot those football players, I thought it was the crimes were planned for that day. That day was what was supposed to be special. Because it was going on in different places on the same day. That's how I thought. Right? All right. I think we have run to the end of our course with this live. I think we have covered all that we can cover. And I think it's good for us to put a pin in it here. All right? And so a few announcements before we unassemble. And I will be leaving the chat open for a while. But I want to remind everybody that's a member that we have members only meetings on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock, noon, Eastern Standard Time, lunchtime. And we would love for you to grace us with your presence if you are a member. If you're not a member, you won't be able to log into the meeting. But I guess if sometime in the future you decide, all right, I see a comment here. I need to take a pause. Chief, shout out to Chief. I'm thinking it will not go to trial. Well, a couple more people like Leah Larkin and it won't make it to trial. Shout out to Chief. Let's give a shout out to Chief. Oh. All right. I don't think it's going to trial either. I just have that feeling. If I do, it's not going to, if it does go to trial, it's not going to last long before everything is out on a technicality or the prosecution just get out of there. And just get on up out of there, you know? That's just the best I can come up with. Now, let's see. It's 12 midnight here on the East Coast. Okay, I second that motion. Tell it to L. If you're not a member yet, you know you can get started with the Rookie Smart Cookies, only $2.99 per month. So you can jump in with us in Wednesday prayer and get the newsletter. And we have a lot of fun as members of Hard Truth Channel. All right, I just appreciate all of the time you spend viewing the content, liking the content. It's such a big responsibility just to be a viewer these days. But I say thank you for every effort, all the time spent, and for all this financial support to the channel as well. You guys have been more than awesome. And if you haven't had a chance to join yet, think about at least starting out as a Rookie Smart Cookie for $2.99 a month. There's merch for sale. You can get a t-shirt or a nice coffee mug so we can all be drinking the same thing together. Okay, we got the water bottle type cup and a coffee cup with the channel logo. All right, so that's the extent of my hard sale for the merchandise. All right. Thank you to everyone that came and attended. Thank you for everyone that bought super chat stickers. Thank you to everyone who made donations during the week for PayPal or Cash App. Thank you so much to AF and Willow. Star Sorcerer. Thank you to everyone for continually supporting the channel. Stephanie Elazar, she's not here right now, but I want to say thank you. Give her a thank you for always, being a great moderator. Okay, so I'm just so thankful right now. We're a good, strong group. You guys are the best. And I think the channel is growing and developing at a really good pace. All right, and so I would like to keep it that way. Now, welcome to all the new people. Indigo Moon Chief. All right. I thank you, and I want to remind you to keep up with the content. You may not get notifications sometimes. Sometimes they just don't work. It's been my experience. All right. I usually try to put out at least one video a day. It may be 2 a day or 2 in a day and a half, but that's usually my pace. All right. And thank you to those who rejoined as members, because I know it's a sacrifice for a lot of people to participate in stuff like this. All right. So thank you for those things also. Now, I'm going to leave the chat open until about 12:10. 12:10 or 12:15, depending on how many people are still in here at 12:10. And so you all can continue to talk or whatever, converse. And for those of you who are going to go to sleep now, I will see you next week, probably a members only meeting. Thank you for all the likes and subscriptions, and I'm trying to think if I left anything out. All right, and so if all hearts and minds are clear, I will see our members on Wednesday. The newsletter will probably come out on Tuesday, no later than Tuesday, the weekly newsletter. And if you're a member and you're not receiving the newsletter, you need to send me your email. And I'm going to put my email address in the chat for those who don't have it. If you're a new member, you're not receiving the newsletter, send me your email address. Okay, I am getting ready to try to find a little sleep. So I'm going to leave this chat open for 5 or 10 minutes. And I think I have covered just about everything. All right, so I'm going to say good night, and I'm going to leave you guys 5 or 10 minutes of talk time. All right, much love.